It's a place where compasses spin out of control, where ships vanish without a trace, where pilots radio their last words, then disappear into silence. Over 1,000 lives lost, and no one truly knows why. Some call it the Devil's Triangle, others a doorway to another world. But to those who have sailed or flown through it, the Bermuda Triangle is something far simpler and far stranger. If you love unraveling history's greatest mysteries, the ones that live between fact and legend, join us. Subscribe and let's explore the unknown together. Now let's begin. Stretching across a vast, blue expanse of the western Atlantic Ocean lies an invisible boundary. A triangle drawn not on any official map, but on the edge of imagination itself. Its corners, Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Inside this triangle lies a region of beauty and danger, 750,000 square miles of restless water. It's where warm tropical currents twist with cold Atlantic depths, where weather can change in a heartbeat, and where, for centuries, stories have surfaced of vessels that left port and never returned. Long before the name Bermuda Triangle existed, sailors told tales of strange lights, sudden storms, and compasses that refused to point north. Christopher Columbus himself wrote of dancing flames on the horizon and erratic needles in his compass as he crossed the same waters in 1492. To some, it was just magnetism, the meeting point of natural forces. To others, it was the ocean whispering its warnings. Centuries later, the age of exploration gave way to the age of flight, and the triangle, still nameless, still unsolved, began claiming not just ships but aircraft. It was December 5, 1945. A squadron of 5 U.S. Navy bombers, Flight 19, took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on a routine training mission. Their leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, was an experienced pilot. The flight should have lasted no more than 2 hours. But radio logs tell a different story. Barely halfway through, the pilots began reporting compass malfunctions. Both magnetic and gyro readings were useless. They didn't know where they were. The sea below them endless. The sky closing in. Taylor's voice came through the radio, calm at first, then uncertain. "We seem to be lost. Everything looks strange." Another voice cut in, "Don't come after us. They look like they're from outer space." Hours passed. Fuel ran low. And then silence. The Navy sent out a rescue plane with 13 men aboard. It vanished too. No reiki. No oil slick. Nothing. In one night, 27 men and 6 aircraft disappeared without a trace. The search lasted weeks. The investigation, years. But all they found was ocean. That was the moment the world began to notice. But Flight 19 wasn't the first, only the loudest. Long before the 1940s, ships had been vanishing in this region since records began. The schooner Ellen Austin in 1881, found drifting, crew missing. The freighter Cyclops in 1918, 309 men aboard, vanished between Barbados and Baltimore without a single distress call. The Carol A. Deering discovered run aground in 1921, her crew gone as if erased. By the mid-20th century, more than 1,000 ships and planes were said to have met the same fate. Each case carried its own weather, its own reason, its own uncertainty. But the pattern, that eerie silence before the vanishing, became impossible to ignore. The phrase Bermuda Triangle itself wouldn't appear until 1964. In a magazine article that electrified the world. Suddenly, the triangle was not just a place, it was a mystery, a symbol of the limits of human understanding. Authors, journalists, and filmmakers turned it into legend. And as they did, the story grew. Some spoke of strange magnetic forces, invisible lines of energy that pulled compasses off course. Others of methane gas bubbling from the ocean floor, sinking ships as if swallowed whole. Pilots told of sudden storms that appeared from clear skies, and navigators swore their instruments spun madly as if space itself were bending. Yet beneath the fear, there was fascination. Because the triangle wasn't just about what disappeared, it was about what remained. The sea itself, calm again by morning, as if nothing had ever happened. The silence of the radios, the absence of answers. The Bermuda Triangle became less a location and more a question. One that humanity has never stopped asking. Over the next decades, the stories multiplied. From lost cargo ships to small private planes that took off and were never seen again. Each new mystery seemed to feed the one before it, like the ocean consuming its own tales. But the scientists, they weren't convinced. They began to look deeper, beyond myth, into the data, the currents, the storms. And what they found was something even more extraordinary. Not supernatural, but beautifully, terrifyingly natural. The Triangle was one of the most unpredictable regions on Earth. Powerful trade winds, magnetic variations, deep trenches, methane hydrates, and one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. A place where one small error could mean disaster. Still, not everything could be explained. Not every plane found. Not every ship recovered. And that is where the mystery endures, balanced delicately between the rational and the unknowable. The ocean keeps her secrets well, and the triangle keeps the rest. The deeper scientists looked into the Bermuda Triangle, the more the myth began to bend beneath the weight of evidence. But it never quite broke. Oceanographers studied its currents. Meteorologists charted its tempests. And geologists turned their eyes to the seafloor. A vast landscape scarred by underwater canyons and volcanic ridges. One of the most striking discoveries was methane, trapped beneath the seabed in massive frozen deposits. When disturbed, these gas pockets could erupt, forming bubbles large enough to reduce the density of water. A ship caught above them would lose buoyancy and sink almost instantly. To the surface, it would seem to simply disappear. Others pointed to magnetic anomalies, subtle but powerful, capable of interfering with compasses and aircraft instruments. The Earth's magnetic field isn't constant, and in certain areas it can play tricks on navigators. Inside the triangle, two of these magnetic lines converge. For an inexperienced pilot, even a slight misreading could turn a straight path into a spiral of confusion. Then there are the storms, violent, sudden, and alive. Hurricanes that can form in hours. Waterspouts that reach from sea to sky like spinning glass towers. And rogue waves, towering walls of water that rise out of nowhere, striking with the power of earthquakes. For a lone ship or a low-flying aircraft, there is no warning. Only one moment of calm, and the next, the sea swallows everything. And yet, even with all these explanations, even with satellites and sonar and decades of data, the mystery refuses to fade. Because for every theory that answers one question, another emerges to replace it. Some researchers propose something stranger, that the Bermuda Triangle might sit at a crossroads of the Earth's natural energy fields. A place where magnetic and gravitational forces twist in unpredictable ways, bending time and space themselves. Others dared to go further still. There were whispers of alien intervention, that the triangle was a kind of gateway, a cosmic trap for those who stumbled too close. Some connected it to the legend of Atlantis, claiming the lost civilization had left behind powerful technology beneath the waves. There were even stories of ships seen again years after their disappearance, as if they had slipped through a veil, only to return ghost-like and hollow. Most scientists dismissed these as fantasy. But even they admitted something about this place defies simplicity. Because while the world has mapped every coastline and scanned the ocean's deepest trenches, the Bermuda Triangle still holds an element no chart can measure: uncertainty. For decades, media fed that uncertainty like oxygen to a flame. Television specials, best-selling books, and late-night radio shows turned the triangle into a global phenomenon. In the 1970s, it became a mirror, reflecting our collective fascination with what lies beyond understanding. For some, it was proof of the supernatural. For others, a challenge to the arrogance of science. But for most, it was a reminder that even in a modern world of satellites and sensors, mystery still exists, not just in distant galaxies but here within reach of our own shores. By the late 20th century, official investigations had cataloged hundreds of cases. The U.S. Coast Guard, the Navy, even NASA contributed data. And yet they found no single pattern, no shared cause, no universal clue. Some incidents were weather, some mechanical failure, some remain unclassified to this day. The triangle, it seemed, was not cursed, merely misunderstood. But perhaps that misunderstanding is what keeps it alive. Because maybe we need places like this. Places that refuse to yield to logic, that remind us how little we still know. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, and yet we've explored less than 5%. In that vast unknown, how many other triangles might still be waiting? And so the legend endures. Every few years, a new story surfaces. A missing yacht, a silent transponder, a plane vanishing from radar for minutes that feel like hours. Sometimes they're explained, sometimes they're not, but always the questions return. Is the Bermuda Triangle a riddle of science? A myth born from coincidence? Or something else entirely? A reflection of our own need to believe there's more beneath the surface? Perhaps it isn't the sea that's haunted. Perhaps it's us, haunted by the limits of what we can prove. Because the Bermuda Triangle, for all its data and debate, is really a story about humanity's oldest desire to understand the unknown. And the unknown, no matter how many maps we draw, will always be larger than we are. The compasses may no longer spin, the instruments may now hold steady, but the mystery remains, quiet, patient, endless. If you enjoyed this story, please support this channel by clicking the subscribe button. Also, please do well to check out other stories from this channel. Thank you.